Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to the people who made the time to spend this hour with us. Okay, before I start, this is one of Adrian's normal speeches. You know, I normally make a small little speech right before I start the session. Oftentimes when I do sessions, I always end up with a bit of nervousness, right? But for this session, not so much. And the reason is because the lady that you see beside you, I know her from many years ago already, and then we were just we were in the room 10 minutes ago, just chit-chatting. This is the first time I've seen Jean in, it's got to be at least 5 years or something like that, right? It's got to be there. So we're just thinking about the career sort of like lessons that you know that it can be learned about this. And if you see the LinkedIn post that I made this morning, but the interesting fact, once upon a time I was maybe quite close, I don't know, to taking over her job, but I guess, you know, destiny had other plans, right? But the fact is, I don't even know how it is that I managed to speak to Jean and get that additional heads up and an additional kind of like, you know, intel, right? But I think the first thing I want to say to everybody, it is critically important for you to get you know, get yourself out there and get to know as many people as possible, and to maintain those conversations and those relationships. Okay. So anyway, you know, as I also mentioned, I didn't really rehearse this with Jean. So whatever you're going to be seeing, hearing today is really off the cuff, really unrehearsed and from the heart. So hopefully, you know, all of you will benefit from you know, the wisdom and the insights and the opinions shared here today. As Elisa mentioned, please you know, feel free to ask any questions that you have using the Q&A. We might not have the time to answer every single question, but we will do our level best to answer as many as possible. Okay, so without further ado, Jean, my dear, it's so nice to see you. Welcome, and thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Hang on a second. Okay, Jean, you there? Can you hear me? You're muted.
Yes, finally. Okay, I always get me on Zoom. So hi everyone. Great to see everyone here. And yes, thanks Adrian for the opportunity. Yeah, can't be mentioned more. So yes, we know each other for quite a while.
Yeah.
We didn't know that, obviously, you know, many years ago when we connected, we got this opportunity, right, in the future years that we can collaborate.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, really looking forward for further chat.
Notoriously difficult to get Jean. She's super busy. So I was half worried that she you know, wouldn't show up, but you know, I see you, so I believe it right now. Okay, so I just wanted to ask that first question I normally ask everybody. Now, when you think about your own career, right? We always tell people careers never really move in the direction that we always anticipate. You have a plan, but sometimes life has different outcomes for you, right? So for yourself, I know that you studied construction building management. How on earth, right, did you what is your career like? How did you manage to get into talent acquisition, and more particularly, how did you manage to get into tech talent acquisition? You know, maybe you want to tell us a bit about your own story. Is that okay?
Sure. Thanks Adrian. It's gonna be a pretty long one, so bear with me.
Okay, no worries.
I started talent acquisition career back in 2007, and like you mentioned, I actually did a degree in construction management. And how I got into talent acquisition is actually, now I recall, it was actually during my final year of my degree. I actually took part in a HSBC case competition. Obviously, I didn't get to the top prizes. There were a lot of competitions from the business school grads, but I actually got a ticket after the case competitions, actually to participate in a workshop by McKinsey. And I just took it on and joined the workshops. And actually, I didn't realize that at the end of the workshops, there was actually an opportunity for me to then sign up for internships interviews. I went through a series of interviews with McKinsey. I didn't get a job. So again, competed with the finance and business grads. I didn't get the internship opportunity. But what set in me that time was my interactions with the recruiter in McKinsey. She given me good advice and kind of impressed me of how actually, you know, interesting HR role or people role was that. Of course, it was my final year degree, so that set me, but I continued my degree and I stepped foot into a construction career for a couple of months. Soon I realized that, hey, not really cut out for constructions. My interest is really about more people and HR. And then I took on a number of opportunities to get interviews, and then finally landed myself in recruitment. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Now I think that is really that particular workshops and case competitions that I didn't know even, how it could land myself into a HR career.
How difficult was it, right, for you to actually pick up tech? I mean, like, how do I say this? Okay, so I read the Straits Times article 2021 about how women, and this is not you lah, women, who study STEM degrees, very few of them actually end up in related careers. And as yourself as a talent leader, for example, I mean, even as a recruiter, not doing tech itself, but recruiting for tech, how difficult was it? And how did you manage to get that opportunity to recruit for tech?
Yeah. Somewhat the constructions degree, which is a fall into STEM as well, it helped me a little bit because that interdisciplinary some courses available in a degree. On the onset, people actually didn't realize that it carries some actually influence and relevance. But actually, soon I realized that, for example, the project management knowledge, right, the engineering mindset, the solutioning concepts and all was actually pretty much applicable to all industries. So it kind of got me into that. But of course, then on the get-go, learning from, in fact, candidates, learning from hiring managers about the industries, and of course, pick it on as it go from assignments, from project assignments. So that's helped me. I think the learning never stops during my role that I play in the recruiting.
Right. Okay. And then on the back of what you just said, right, I'm pretty sure that here in this audience, we have friends who come from, or who have just maybe not say just graduated, but maybe even who are currently pursuing, specific courses pertaining to, to tech, for example, or an area or discipline of tech, for example. So like what you mentioned just now, I'm just latching onto it, like construction management, there were some courses inside that were quite related to tech. And obviously it helped you. For these people who are joining us right now, who just got off a 3-6-9 month program, whatever it might be, how do you think that they can maximize the utility of those qualifications, especially if they haven't actually, or they came from a different career before this? I mean, how do you, what's the advice for them in terms of using those courses that they took or they invested time in?
I think for the individuals that are still having a full-time role at the moment, I think what I will recommend is to take on some rotational projects on top of your current full-time work in your current institutions, if there's opportunity. I think there are many times right now institutions will have some ad hoc projects or franchise projects happening in the institutions. Though it may not be relatable to your full-time role, but you can volunteer to take up those projects and assignments to basically put your technical skills that you actually gain from this 3-6-9 months course into use. That's my advice for anyone that's having a full-time role at the moment. For anyone that actually at the juncture right now that perhaps already available, I would say do not shy away taking on maybe some non full-time work, whether
contract
it's
opportunities.
Contract opportunity or even internships. Now it's actually a bit of trend that I observe right now that institutions are offering more mid-career internships. And these mid-career internships, sometimes, it carries together with your reskill program. Sometimes it's directly managed by the employer's program. But it kind of helps you to step into to experience. It's really more experimental for you, for this new environment and this new role.
So and also on the top of on the back of that question, right? When you consider your experience, totality, right? Obviously, if it's a career pivoter, who's done something else and who just did a 3-6-9 month course, maybe it would be unusual, or maybe not really likely that this person can go into something very, very very quantitative or technical, let's say science, like data science, for example, right? But in your experience, right, do you feel, or do you have any opinions on any tech areas that have a lower barrier to entry? Like, for example, you work with people at UBS, SMBC, or now in Shopee, for example, right? I mean, are there any areas within the space, right, that you hire in that you feel could be a lower barrier to entry? People can consider that because the resistance might be a bit less compared to something very, very, very technical. What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, true. I mean, it is really hard to pivot directly to a fully technical role. So, for example, in the banking and finance context, right, the area that usually have a lower barrier, I would say it's more the techno-functional role, like the business analyst role, your project officer, project manager role, that continue to require your previous business knowledge or your functional knowledge, but now you require to exhibit your technical skills as well, right? Kind of a bridge between the business and the technical team. So that's one area that I think, it's a lower barrier. Now, aside to that, it's actually the just how rightly you mentioned, Adrian, the data science, I think it's more the far end. But the progressive to data science, I would say, is data analytics.
Yep.
The people that are able to now, wear that thinking hat in the data and a technical role, but provide insights in the business context. So I think that is the part that I think this group of audience today can think about as a progressive pivoting into a technical role.
Okay, got it. And also to consider maybe opportunities via the contract route, for example, right? Okay, and then on again related to that question, I'm just making these questions up as I go. Thank you for reacting to it so quickly. A lot of the people that we work with at IVF, right, are PMETs, which means to say 30s, 40s, 50s, right? So definitely not necessarily spring chicken types, okay? They've experienced before and so on and so forth. That puts them at a very unique situation or position where, they might be too senior to do something junior, too junior to do something totally new, for example. And I think normally that's the kind of like the difficulties that we have working with people in terms of mindsets. Now, you've seen thousands of CVs, probably, maybe even more than that, maybe a few thousands, right? Have you seen any success or use case, of mid-careerists, getting into like a role, kind of, and more importantly, as you're part of the hiring process, what do you think are the things that help to maximize someone's attraction? Because, okay, so let me add some more stuff. Okay, again, I'm just saying, the bigger the banker or the bigger the organization, I feel, maybe you agree or disagree, the bigger the organization, the more structured the mind is. So for example, line managers say, associates must be this age, analysts must be this age, AVPs, director, roughly this age. You get someone who's like 40s, 50s, I apply for associate, something don't gel, especially for the big ones, right? I wonder if you can think of any cases or previous, case studies or whatever you might call it, right? Of people who have broken that mold, managed to get something, and more importantly, what do you think was the special thing about this person? Was it the resume? I mean, was it something that they put in the resume? Was it the interview style? Or, do you have any sort of like experiences or cases for this?
Yeah. I probably I probably want to maybe sort of mention what are the...
You don't have to name people, yeah.
Yeah, try not to go into that space. But I think probably I want to share a little bit more like, the typical DNA or the general skills that are the technology industry or firms that are typically looking for in candidates. And then as a candidates ourselves, right, we try to amplify our DNAs to see if that is relatable. My own personal observations in the tech space, you soon realize that a lot of big technology MNCs or unicorns right now, they're very young firm. It's not the demographics of people. It's in fact, they are young in the sense, for example, they are how many years of firm only. They're like founded just in a recent years.
Recent years,
right? So that means the products that they produce or even the business that tech firms are in are unprecedented.
Yep.
So that's one key point. And to put ourselves into a business that is unprecedented, that means we needed people with ability to manage ambiguity. That's one. Ability to adapt and adjust to the changing needs and environment very quickly.
Agile.
So correct, that agility. So this part, this particular point may oppose to the traditional industry mindset of, like you mentioned, structured, like rule and planning, versus in the tech industry, which is more about just adapt and change and agility, right? The third point, just I mentioned, manage ambiguity, adaptability of changes. Third is the problem solve ability. In the tech firms, usually we are trying to problem solve based on the context and back the solutioning with data. So the DNA that usually tech firms look for is someone that ability to problem solve and making decisions with large data. That's another one. All right. So now going back to your questions, and then for people like us, I'm also in your age group, 30, 40. Right. So for me as well, I constantly looking for these DNAs, regardless, to be honest, the age group of the candidate.
Very good to hear.
Yeah, but the candidate to demonstrate that. So then the question is, just now you mentioned about, I'm looking through thousands of CVs, right? How to pick those DNA out. Like if I have a resume A, resume B, a resume A have 10 years of experience doing exactly same role versus someone have 10 years of experience in the same organizations as well, but have been taking on additional assignments, side projects. Right, have been doing reskilling. All right, so that is some of the track records that shows the adaptability and agility. All right, another part is actually the risk-taking part. So we will also look at whether one actually are risk taker. And in the tech firms or tech industries, we look for risk takers. So someone that comfortable with uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are we are looking for people with some with disruptive mindset.
Yeah. Well, how did you? Well, I mean, okay. So the next question I have, right, is an interesting one. This one, this one slightly put you on the spot, how? But we are among friends here, all friends. So I want to ask you. I wanted to ask this question. If someone who has been in FIs for the longest time. That's one type of person, and then for you, like you mentioned, in Shopee, right? For example, very agile and so on and so forth, right? Is it either or have you seen a person who is it possible for someone to be everything? Now, then I started to think, well, it's possible because you're one of them, right? Because you came from the big banks, right? As in the structured way of the banks thinking and so on and so forth, like UBS, for example, right? To this agile. What do you think, right? Or how did you do it? So for example, right, you move from say a bank to say Shopee. What is it, or how did you get yourself noticed and hired, I guess, with people, maybe the Shopee management or whatever, they say, oh, she was with a bank, so she probably think this way, is she a risk taker lah, this kind of thing. How did you, like, how did you sort of like maximize your employability, to attract Shopee? And, oh, yeah, that's basically an open-ended question I want to ask you. How did you do it, for example? Or you're muted again, Jin.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Working in a tech and still struggling with the tech.
Don't tell boss. Yeah.
So I think that's a number way to go about it. If I'm recalling right now my journey, pivoting from banking to tech. One is that when I was in banking, I never closed my network to just banking.
Okay.
So I've been constantly networking with people that outside banking, really just here and stay curious, being, putting curiosity always with you, just, being nosy lah. Find out, what's happening, even right now, I'm in Shopee in e-commerce, right? It's actually nothing related, for example, to blockchain and Web 3.0. But I'm actually talking to people and trying to find out, I'm just being curious about what is 3.0, what is DeFi, for example, decentralized financing, right?
Yeah.
So that's one tips, really, because that's how you as well, when it comes to interview, when it comes to, your, we now call it social recruiting lah. So a lot of time when we recruit people, right, it's not just during the interview, we already start, planting our eyes on people through some of this networking or some social context. So during this social networking, continue to showcase, our really genuine interest and curiosity in these industries. That's one. That's really helpful, and kind of like you're building your muscles before interview. So when it comes to interview, you have all this knowledge, even though you are not in the industry yet.
Right. Was it something that you managed to like physically or like literally put on the resume, as in like, when you apply for, I don't even know how you got this job, right? Like maybe it's through a headhunter, another headhunter, or through your own networks. But did you find that you had to sort of change up your traditional resume in any way to incorporate some of these aspects of, curiosity and stuff like that?
Yes, certainly. I think in resume, the part, for example, the interest there, you can actually put a lot more in terms of a personal interest and any study or even publications that you actually have participated. For example, the networking sessions that you have participated in LinkedIn. I think that is really now an open platform. When we attended, even right now today is right, this IBF talk maybe about pivoting into tech. If you are participants, call out in LinkedIn, all right, that you have then as a people that networked with you, realize that hey, you actually have this genuine interest about the new industries. That's part. And the resume part, I think the format actually I think this is one of tips lah.
Please. Please share tips. Share tips.
Instead of just the content of the resume, it's actually the format and the look of the resume give a recruiter the sense of you adapting to the industry.
Okay.
The tech CVs versus, for example, a banking CV is a little bit different. Banking CV is a lot of content, a lot of words, but in tech, it's more colors. And I'm sure, I think 99% of banking CVs, right, no color one.
Yeah, correct.
Right, just black and white, right?
Yeah.
But because we're talking about graphics, we're talking about also like e-commerce marketing. For example, you see Shopee has a lot of colors, right? So that's a little bit of kind of giving the impressions of the creativity as well as transformations as well on the personal context.
I think it's a good point.
I
think it's a good point because we kind of like, well, in my own sessions, when I do resume sort of review sessions, right, it's we always have to ask, is this resume targeted for a traditional industry or a traditional bank, or is it to say Meta, Google, Shopee, for example? Then it will be slightly different the way they present it, lah, for example, right? Yeah, and so and also the way they interview and things like that, how you show up for interviewing to follow the culture of the company. Okay, so I also wanted to ask another compare and contrast questions, right? Compare and contrast question. You joined Shopee, quite a while already, a bit of time lah. But in terms of what kind of talent you are always on the lookout for, does it in any way different? Is it any way different from say what UBS or let's say SMBC were looking for? For example, I mean, bank versus say someone like Shopee, for example, right? Compare and contrast the kind of talent that you guys are looking for. Same, similar, different, or what's different, and things like that. What are some of the trends there?
Okay. I will start with the tech, the hard skills first.
Okay.
I think on the technology side, of course, to be honest, the technology stack that used in banking versus the e-commerce and internet business is very different.
Okay.
Right. In banking, perhaps you have your your Java, your C++, all these technical different stacks. But in e-commerce and internet industries, pretty much using Python, SQL. Because it's a lot more in terms of, I think a lot of basic languages, to be honest, compared to banking. Right. Another thing is, for example, the data visualization tool. In banking, right, for example, use a lot of Tableau, maybe Oracle and IBM, which is actually very pricey. Right. But in tech industries, we tend to, even you talk to Meta, talk to Google and some of these players, right? We actually hardly invest in some of these expensive tools and from other companies. Is because we are tech firms, we actually trust in building our own tools. So another is because we know that all these tools and systems will soon outdated.
Okay.
So a lot of tech firms actually will not invest in some of these expensive proprietary products.
Okay.
So the technology stack is very different. So for example, if I'm looking for data, I think in banking I see a lot of Tableau, Power BI people, but then in e-commerce and internet business, we look at just strong SQL and Python programming. Right.
Okay.
Another thing I think, aside from the technical skills, I think more towards the general skills again is, I think I would say the advantages versus the disadvantage is actually quite of contrast. Let me elaborate that. So in banking, for example, I think just now I kind of given a bit of tips into that as well. Is in banking, I think a lot of time we looked at track record. Like, if I have a profile, I'm looking for maybe a business analyst, I would need someone that have, that many years of experience in that particular systems or domain. For example, I'm looking for, let's say, a compliance BA. Then I will just hire compliance BA, like specific domain knowledge.
Precise.
Yeah, very precise, very niche, very specializations focused. But in tech, it's very different. But that is again because it's relatable to how the industry is. It's ever evolving and it's always change. So we're actually looking for people with track record of, like, say, the interdisciplinary domain. So if the person has perhaps 10 years, but actually a few years in compliance BA, and a few years is actually in maybe wealth management BA, different BA, is actually carries better and also more advantage than someone that have more years, but within one domain.
I see.
So the CVs, when it comes to presenting to the tech industry, is actually the breadth is important than the depth.
Understand. Yeah. Okay, got it. So I guess for the people who are here right now, hopefully you're summarizing the things the same way I'm doing. One of them is deep, one of them is broad, right? In terms of CVs, one of them is plain, one of them is colorful. I mean, if I can say it that way, right? Like what you mentioned about showcasing that the other interests that you have, I think is important. One of the things, right, and for the people who are here and who have benefited from or have chatted to Career Advisor, I just want to say, we've always said, or at least I've always said, that when you're writing a resume, Jean, you can jump in if you're ready. When you're writing a resume, I've always said that when you're reaching that last part, which is your interests your interest section, most people already they run out of steam. They punch it already, right? And so they just want to finish it off and just write some stuff. But I always implore them to think carefully and put in as much effort as possible to that section as well, because it kind of like, like what Jean mentioned, it's your opportunity to show what kind of person you are, and the things that you do beyond your work, your interests, for example. So I think for me, I kind of like, I'm very heartened to hear what you mentioned, because I think it's very important that someone showcase the totality of oneself, especially if if you're if you're transitioning from a very structured environment, or very, let's say, a banking, right, and you want to move to say something like as fluid and agile as say as Shopee. Okay, so on the next question, I think a very tough one. I call it like the elephant in the room. Again, I think you are a living example of the answer to this question, but I want to just address it, and it's about age. It's about age. Just a bit more, I know that you had mentioned earlier that you don't really worry about it, but much more broader, do you feel like age is actually a factor, or like a sort of taboo, not so good thing when it comes to employing someone, like for example, as I mentioned, right, 40-year-old, 40-something-year-old, change industries and you apply. I mean, do you, in your experience, your whole totality of experience, right, is it do you agree that it is a good thing, or normally it works against the candidates? And if so, how can we negotiate these challenges? Because I can tell you for a fact, for me personally, right, my analogy when I work with people is that the career advisors, we can bring people to the goal scoring line. If it's a soccer game, right, we can navigate you to the goal scoring line, but the goals are not easy to score even at that line, if you can follow the example that I'm giving. So what do you think, Jean? I mean, like, is age a good thing or a bad thing? Is when you work with line managers, have you ever encountered line managers say, oh, cannot lah, this one, how can, like 50 already, stuff like that. So what's your thoughts on that, and what's your advice to overcome that, if anything?
Okay, that's good. To be honest, I'm thinking when I was in the banking industry, right, there was also a couple of moments where I was really struggled, and I was pulling my hair dealing with people older than me, but not everyone, but there are certain categories. But it wasn't actually because of the age. It was actually because getting an agreement into change. Oftentimes I needed to face with very quickly a rebut behavior when a new idea and a new change is being proposed. So I think it's that part that I think we just have to make sure that we don't always thinking. I think just I mentioned about problem solving.
Yeah,
it's something different. In banking industry, we try to problem solve using past experiences. In tech firms, we problem solve really using data, logic. Past experiences is really the least favorable. So that is the part that I think we cannot draw from the resume. We should, but just now answer to a questions, Adrian, just now you asked me that, after interview, there were cases where hiring managers say, oh no, really cannot make it. It's because the rebut coming in when it comes to interviews, like, oh no, I've done that, it's not gonna work, that kind of mannerism.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or the hustler DNA is missing, like you face a no just once and then you back off, or you are really continue to push and justify and remain very positively adaptable. I think that is the part that I think people may generalize that and associate with age, but to be honest, it wasn't that. So if we are really, fall into this group, I think what's important is that the resume has to tell that story. So that means, maybe, if you have experience maybe in some of the uncharted projects.
Yeah.
All right, that's important,
Yeah.
or, you have been participating on contributing to some, some trial experimental projects in your career, amplify that. That's important, right? My own personal experience, just to be sharing with you, 2 out of 6 jobs that I've had so far didn't have a JD when I went for interview. Of course, from a HR perspective, it's not very nice practice lah. People come in without a JD, right? But I basically see that as an opportunity for me to actually how to structure myself to a situations where there's so much ambiguity, there's so much unknown. And that is where technology, people will see that's relatable to technology industry.
Okay, I get it. I mean, there was a question I wanted to ask. I mean, there's quite a few questions building already, but there was something that I was quite curious to know, but then I think the thing slipped my mind. Okay, no worries. If it comes back again, I will definitely let you know. Okay, so before, I don't know whether I should just give some time because it's already almost 2:15 already. Okay, so maybe what we'll do now, guys, is we'll just look at the questions and then we'll see. We'll try to answer some already, lah. Okay. Okay. Let's take this one from Clarence. Hey, Clarence. Nice to meet you. Are there any differences in recruitment for Shopee versus SeaMoney? Is there something that you can comment on? Any idea?
The entity is actually different. Shopee and SeaMoney is actually a different HR team, a different recruitment team. Process-wise, there will be some differences, not a very, very major difference. But I mean, the entire competencies that we expected out in these 2 different entities will be a bit different. But then the values and our culture is actually same. The values and culture for C Group is actually identical across all entities, including Garena, which is the gaming arm as well.
I just remember I want to ask you. Sorry, guys, for all the questions. Let me just shelve that for a second. Sorry. Okay. This is a question that's near and dear to my heart. When you work with line managers, okay, like you're the first, maybe the gatekeepers for the applications that come in. And sometimes the strength of the resume is good enough for you already. But maybe for some people who get to know you, Jean, like for example on LinkedIn, they start a conversation with you, you get to know them, and you get a bit more dimension to beyond the resume. What will it take for you to back this person up to a line manager who says no, cannot? Yeah, what are the attributes that will make you fight for this person? This one is something I really want to know, because it's so, it's one of those things that I'm very passionate about to find out. Feel free, as in like to think about your whole history, whether or not you met a candidate that really just blew your mind, and because the line manager didn't see the candidate but you saw the candidate, you say, no, you have to, you really have to believe me, this guy is so good. I mean, I have my own story, right? But I wonder if you have your own sort of story, or maybe even if yourself, even if you don't have a story, if someone would approach you, what would make you like say, hey, this guy actually not bad, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Yeah, any thoughts on that? Tough question.
Tough question, but the soft spot for me, but usually it has to kind of hit my soft spot, and then I'll try to really help to market the profile and keep pushing for a profile. I think is the perseverance of the candidate.
Okay.
That's one. I mean, really, I have candidates that got rejected and then come back to me and say, Jean, I think I'm really interested in why. Very strong reasoning skills. It helped me as well because the candidate actually know himself better than me, so he helped me to do the reasoning. That's really helpful. Another thing is another point that usually will be helpful for me to remarket a profile is there are some comparable cases. So for example, I may be the first one that moved from UBS, let's say, to Shopee. But if now there is a second one
from UBS or
from
bank
UBS,
yeah,
then I know about this and I can say, hey, yes, you may have perceptions that banking not able to make it, but then now we actually have a use case. So, but that means from a candidate perspective is that you need to open up your network and realize that, hey, who have where is the use cases for yourself. Someone that have gone through the path that you are taking now. Right? And they say, I know this person, and this person was actually my colleague. And we were doing exactly same project or in the same department, and he able to actually make that through in this firm. So maybe, can you relook my profile again? So use some use cases.
Use cases, okay, and perseverance as well, right? Okay, got it. So guys, you heard her. I mean, obviously, don't have to bomb her with but perseverance is good lah. Okay, so a couple of questions look quite similar. Phil asked talks about the ATS system and specifically how does a colored resume affect the ATS system. So that's one. I don't know whether you're using ATS or what it is, right? And then another one, anonymous attendee asked about colorful CVs. Anonymous attendee asked, you mentioned colorful CVs would help in tech, but in the first place would still have to go through the ATS. So keywords and simple formats. So keywords, simple formats are most important. I mean, still looking for keywords, right? Your ATS is probably still looking for keywords.
When we do searches, it will go through keywords. That's right. All ATS actually will have the resume attachment now. So it's actually not coming in as a plain form. At least as far as I know, the ATS that I've used, and also whether it's internal build or external proprietor products, actually we always look at the resume attachment. So your original form of your resume, actually recruiter will see it.
Okay. But then that means to say you still have to put in the keywords so that the recruiter can find it. Then you will see it. Is it correct to say that? Because if not, you'll be like searching millions of resumes and then you don't know what you're looking. Is it correct to say that or not?
No, recruiter will search it only if it is not applications. So if your previous applications, but it's still residing in their their CV pool, right? Then we will search and then got in touch with you. But if it's applications, it will come in normally it's actually being sorted by dates. You will go through. It's just a matter of how much time the recruiter will speed read lah. But then every series will go through one.
Fantastic. Okay, you just sabo yourself. How long does it take? How long does a recruiter take to read a CV?
For me,
with years of experience, right? You can tell the truth.
About 30 seconds lah. To be honest.
That's very generous. Seconds. Very good. Okay, so you heard it. 30 seconds. You don't make an impression. I think. Not so good outcome lah. Okay, so must make an impression, right? The resume must make an impression. Okay. I've a fun question. I don't know. And anonymous attendee asked, okay, I don't even know whether there's such a thing. Would a Tableau resume be attractive to Shopee? What is a Tableau?
Tableau, the visualizations tool, Tableau, right?
Tableau resume be attractive to Shopee,
We don't use Tableau, so if it's Amplify is Tableau, then no. But SQL and Python very attractive to us.
Oh, okay, guys. See, and more tips. So hopefully you guys have upskilled in know how to write how to do SQL. Okay. Okay. Another really fun question. Anonymous attendee again. Unfortunately, wish we knew who you are. What's the culture for mid-career people joining Shopee and people development opportunities there? So this one maybe again you might be quite suitable to answer because mid-career joining Shopee. How is it like? What's the culture like?
Culture. I have to say, my first 6 months into Shopee, it was really a open eye opener for me as well. I prepped myself, but I still find the first few months was difficult because I think the culture is really okay. Now there are a lot of people say Shopee or even any internet business is fast paced. Now, to be honest, I have the rebut thinking as well. Banking is fast paced. And tell you banking is fast-paced, where we all come from, right? Banking is fast-paced, but the dimension is different. The bank is the intensity of the work, the volume of your work, in tech firms, the intensity is change. So the decision making, it's very iterative. And then, if you experimented it, you trial it, it doesn't work, move on. Trial it, move on. So that is the culture shift for me as well. Like, do not take so much pride in terms of any decisions and projects that I've done. It could be changed because of market conditions, because of volatility, especially these 1 or 2 years. It's really like volatility, crazy. It's like roller coasters, right? So it's that culture change, it's the mindset change. I think in the banking sector, it's really like we plan it and then we stick to it. We want to stay on track, and then we take pride on that, right? Here is actually we take pride in terms of like, we decided we want to pull it, and then we will pull the trigger, we stop it, we move on to other projects and or prioritization. So the priority management is very different in tech firms, right? We talk about prioritizations and reprioritizations so frequent, it's almost every 2 weeks. Even when it comes to recruitment, every 2 weeks we will have change in terms of directions. So that is the change as well that we will expect moving to tech sectors.
So I guess for the people who are not really ready, it could be this constant change might be frustrating for some people who are not used to it, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
I had my frustrated a few months when I first joined, really.
Because of the culture differences between where you came from and obviously the style. Okay.
I was like, I about to execute and deliver, then change there, right? So then I soon realized that actually that journey of changing is actually is the work.
It's the DNA lah. It's the DNA of the
work. Correct. It's actually the work that we expected. Making change is actually an expected outputs.
Okay.
So the output expectations are so different. In banking, output is really the final product. In tech firms, is the experiments, is the product itself.
Got it. And I guess for job seekers who want to make themselves attractive, they have to somehow find a way to demonstrate this ability to adapt and agility. Okay, got it. Maybe this question also, Jean, maybe you can answer because of your experience and because you are a superb networker. I think you're one of LinkedIn's voices, right? Last time. Envy. Okay, what are some examples of networking one can leverage on besides adding contacts on LinkedIn? I mean, are there any sort of like, I don't know, Telegram, I don't know, I mean, like circles that you feel like be quite good to network, or people can participate in sort of like networking at all, to broaden their knowledge, or what? Or how do you keep in touch with the industry and remain current?
I think now the number of connections you have in LinkedIn, all these are actually secondary. For me, the real the network that I ask myself is, is this person will back me up, right? If this person were gonna say something good about me or give me a testimonial,
right,
that is the true network to me. So for me, I think, and my advice also to this group is really, your past networks, people that have worked with you, project people, you will have worked with a lot of your international colleagues as well, be it, it's just maybe small projects, build from there, really network from there. One of the habit that I continue to do is that, whenever I go for workshops, right now, right, I know there are 62 names here. I think at least 30 of you I will connect. So it's really like that. So whenever you go to workshops, whenever you go to event, try to look at the participants, then connect with them, and then you already have a common topic to build your network forward.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's very important. Networking is another key pillar, especially in like the ability to hustle, for example, like what you mentioned, right? I think networking is incredibly important, and so it's so underused because I suppose maybe Asian mindset is that we're a bit not comfortable to never, right? Paise. So I think like what me and my colleagues like to say, it's really almost no choice. I have to push yourself out there because it is that kind of environment where you really have to do more than just apply job and then just wait. That kind of thing, a bit difficult already, right? So you have to push yourself there.
To this, I think a little bit on the personal side, but I think since I think I want to make it quite light mood as well over here.
Yeah.
How many of us actually talk to our neighbors in the block? How many of us actually understand know their job, where they work in? Right. So actually like 3 units away from mine actually is someone in Shopee as well.
Oh, wow.
And I actually know and understand a little bit more about the company before I went for interview by talking to this neighbor. All right. So a bit like that lah. So yeah, so sometimes evening I may walk around to the blocks and then just say hello, how are you in my neighborhood lah.
I think again, that's another pillar of, like for folks who have actually come through IBF, that's another pillar. It's called research. We call it research. We basically use that word to tell people to get as much information as possible about the company or your target organization. So much better if you get a current staff to do it. Okay, so a couple more questions. I think we have 5 minutes, right? Lisa, if you're there, if you don't mind, can you launch the survey? For those people, again, who have been with us and who have come to a lot of our workshops, quick survey always tells us how you feel about the session. It will take you 15 to 30 seconds, I promise you, maybe even less. But it gives us an idea of the usefulness of this of this session and the kind of programming that you want to see moving forward. So if you don't mind, can I encourage everybody to just quickly do it for us? We'd be very, very appreciative. And as you're doing it, I'm going to ask Jean a couple more questions. Okay, Jean, this one this is quite interesting. This last question that we see right now, right? Like he's got a point, or he or she has got a point. They ask, why are things changing so fast? Why always change? What purpose does it serve? And does it align with the long-term goals for the organization? I mean, like, I guess, it's like maybe when you hear the story, it's a bit picture, as in like, like, hey, 2 weeks from the launch, change. Why? So why do things you think change so quickly in a matter of weeks, for example? In your experience lah. The reasons given to you, sorry, Jane, we cannot do it because of XYZ, you know what I mean?
I mean, for me also, it was a journey that I go through, and then I look at, a lot of firms actually got outcasted because of the reluctance to change. I'm sure there's a number that there's I think there are a lot of articles even about phone manufacturer, so I think change is important. I think and the market itself is crazy, but why change is so frequent and constant right now? We have to blame the technology
because it moves fast.
It moves fast and change fast, and I think the COVID situations, I think Singapore managed it so well because we stay with agility as well. There are people also complain, right? Say, hey, why sometimes need close, sometimes open, right? The borders, but it's the agility that make us, defensive.
Move forward, lah. Yeah.
To risk. Actually, I mean, to be defensive to risk, right? We need to be agile.
I think that's a very good example. I never thought about it. Like what you mentioned, right? So basically, like the whole COVID situation, a lot of people were so frustrated because open, close.
Come to office, don't come to office, right?
Yeah, exactly. But then at the end of the day, when you stand back and look at it, right, it was a plan, it was necessary, and that is the reason why we had to change in order to protect something that was valuable. And I guess, unfortunately, some people got hurt, I guess, like, I mean, businesses and stuff like that. But I think the overall idea is change sometimes is really necessary because of the circumstances, or like in your case, it's probably because technology is moving so quickly, all competitors are moving so quickly, that you need to react quite quickly, right?
That's
okay.
Right.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, so I'm just going to look. Clarence says hi, Jean. Yep. Okay, that's good. Let me see whether I can take any more.
I see some names are familiar to me, but was my ex-colleague.
Oh yeah? Oh, you got fans, okay.
No fans. Yeah. Hopefully not enemy.
No, like that. I don't think there will be. Okay, I think the rest of the questions, I mean, like, okay, maybe I suppose there's so many, but we'll take another of Clarence one, and I think it's just a reiteration. So Clarence, he says hygiene, but of course, he has a question. He says, perseverance is a trait that's very favorable, right? It is associated with each job stint lasting. Is it is it associated with each job stint lasting a long time? So basically, I think what Clarence is asking, Clarence, if I'm wrong, please correct me, is perseverance measured by how long you stay in a job, right? And also how to exhibit agility in a resume if each job stint is short, right? An ideal candidate does it mean that one has to work very long hours, long enough years with different jobs? Is that your idea of perseverance and agility?
Okay, good. That is a very good question. In fact, I myself always have this self iterations as well when I work with hiring managers and institutions, also trying to understand their thought about this. For me, perseverance is actually not direct associations with the length of service with the company. It would be very painful if, let's say, no, the environment is not working out, the role is not working out, and it continues to stay put with the environment. It's actually very painful for both parties. For me, perseverance is actually to stay on track and upkeep with the changes. That's most important. If just staying on track but not keeping up with the changes, it's not perseverance.
Got it. So basically, it's irregardless of the time spent. It's about what you did in the time, even if it's short. It's demonstration. Okay. So and again, I guess the challenge would be how, like, say for example, Clarence, people like Clarence, would be how to get those things into, say, the resume, for example, right? To demonstrate, even if there was a short stint, how do I state the course and how I overcome challenges and things like that. Got it. That brings me to another shameless plug. Alisa, if you're there, if it's possible, can you please flash our email address? So everyone who's here and who we didn't manage to answer your questions today, if you need another session with one of us, be happy to help you get your resumes Shopee ready, any other things that you might have questions pertaining to your career, scan the QR code right to us. And someone will be on standby to organize that for you to see, or one of the career advisors ASAP. I'm conscious of the time, Jean, and I know you're very, very busy, so busy. So before I let you go, Jean, I hope it won't be another 5 years before I see you again. Okay. But I always ask this from anybody. Do you have any sort of last words for our friends here in the audience today? Maybe words of encouragement. Any just off the top of your head now, pieces of advice and well wishes for them before we say goodbye?
So I think by attending at least this event already, making a baby steps as well to network and find out what are the opportunities available outside the traditional industries. So continue to network, appreciate your experience, and then just putting into use in other industry. So and please connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, because if you probably are not with your handphone right now, I'm pretty sure that your handphone is all the LinkedIn logos are popping out on your phone right now. I'm pretty sure. But for everyone here as well, thank you once again for your loyal support, joining us on this session. I want to thank you again, Jean, for spending this time, and of course everyone else. I hope this session has helped you in some way, shape, or form, because if it has, to me, it's a job well done. We look forward to connecting some of you and also to see you in some of our upcoming programming as well, right?